Okay, guys, come on in, come on in. Just doing an impromptu little kind of update tonight. What a terrible day. It started out at 7 a.m. this morning, first thing at a high school in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Looks like one student was stabbed to death. Another one is not doing so great. Teacher might have been injured. SRO got onto the scene, but not a very good story. What a horrific first week of school. Angie Todd, Angie's a parent from Onslow County, happens to be running for school board, but that's beside the point. Angie, what do we know about what happened this morning?
As best as we know that somewhere between 7 and 8:45 this morning, there was an incident with a couple of teenagers. One stabbed the other one in retaliation for an alleged incident that happened to a sibling, is my understanding. The RO, the resource officer, was there within 20 seconds to the scene. To the best of our knowledge, one of the stabbing victims died from their injuries, and the other one's in the hospital.
Okay. As I read, also, obviously, I mean, there's going to be a virtual day tomorrow. If you guys are watching, we have a lot of people in Onslow County. Actually, it's a big county for us to cover. And I just did a story. We just posted a story up on Monday. It's so wild, actually, and terrible at the same time. Yeah.
I saw a post also that a second high school is going to be on virtual learning tomorrow because of something that's a threat that's possibly stemming from the actions that happened today as well.
I mean, too early to tell. You're not an expert. None of us know. But, I mean, is there gang activity that you know of? Maybe, I don't know, something of that nature?
I have heard that rumor floating around as well. I don't, like I said, it's speculation at this point.
Right.
I know we're 4 days into school. That's the sad part, that a lot of parents, myself included, a lot of times we think we're sending our kids into a safe environment. And I think that we need to just start being more vigilant and participating and seeing what they're doing, who they're talking to, how they're spending their time. Because we can't go under the assumption that they're going to a safe environment all the time, because we don't know who the other people that are in the school are with them.
Right. I mean, and you pointed out 20 seconds. I don't think you can beat 20 seconds for being on the scene and responding, but by that time it was already too late. The SROs were important. We've said that for a very long time, even here in Wake County, where there was a movement, obviously, from the teachers union, the NCAE teachers union, to defund the police in school. Insanely idiotic idea that was even, put down here in Wake County, where most folks lean towards the left. So we recognize that, we've got to have these folks on the ground, because, as you mentioned, we can't be there all the time, right?
Exactly. And we have to start working together as a community, communicating and figure out where the gaps are so that we can keep our children safe. I think that's basically what it comes down to, is they have to be our number one priority. And we have to be able to communicate with the school. The school needs to communicate with the parents. Our community leaders need to communicate as well, so that we can put a plan together to keep our children safe.
Lee County here in North Carolina is the only county that has an SRO in every school, be it elementary, middle, or high school. And so maybe that's something that, I don't know what it could have prevented here, but might be something that people look to in the future. So, you're there, you're a community leader. Tell me about what are you hearing? What are people feeling right now?
I think they're sad. I think that they're devastated that they're 4 days into school, and there's been a significant devastating situation that now we have to move forward with after for the rest of the school year. And how do we keep the children safe moving forward? I feel like a lot of the community members are just in disbelief and wondering how can we move, what can we do in a short amount of time to put some safety things into safety measures into place moving forward from today.
Right. And so really before we do that, and we talked a little earlier today, before we even talk about policy, what went wrong, whatever, we have to wait for the facts to come out, because we're talking about safety measures and all that, some people in the community prematurely, when in fact we don't know. Everything could have gone right from our perspective of, great, we had a safety policy in place, it wouldn't have helped anyway, and everything worked. So but it's natural for people to recognize the problem and want to solve the problem, but that's what we're going to urge you guys, sort of wait and let's find out what happened, and then correct anything is needed. I mean, are people, have you heard any, what are community leaders saying about this?
I know that they're basically just trying to come together and find words that they can help comfort the community, and whether doing their investigations and finding out what could have been done different, if anything could have been done different that could have saved a life today.
Here in Wake County, I mean, the way that it's spread out, and it's absolutely enormous. It's divided into 9 different sections. I mean, that's how big the district actually is. It's huge. And, it's possible to not know your neighbors, not know, many families at school. It's not as tight knit as other places. What's it like in your county?
I get the impression that a lot of people felt like it was a really tight knit community at some point, and that we've gotten away from that. I did see that a couple times. I heard that a couple times today, that we used to be such a good, tight little community, and they're not sure what changed or what was different, but it just seems like everybody's so estranged now, I guess is a good word for it.
It's after, I hear this a lot, that after COVID, people, whether they're younger or older, have sort of lost their mind, if you will. I mean, tempers are like very short. There's a lack of trust and a suspicion now that maybe we didn't have. And, last year we saw a lot of, at the beginning of the year in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, a tremendous amount of kids being caught with guns, a lot of violence, a lot of those sort of things. And I just wonder, I don't have any way to show this right now, but I wonder if we're still seeing some of that residual, hostilities from kids being disconnected for so long. I mean, you have to think that, right? It's right after the summer, school starts again. And what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that plays a role?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, I know I've seen it in my teenager, just being isolated during COVID and everything, and then trying to get her back out into the community or with friends and learning how to communicate again, because we were told so long not to be out and we were supposed to stay at home and that kind of thing. I just feel like sometimes inside the schools, it's not the environment that we went to school with. I feel like the kids are fighting for their lives sometimes in many different ways. They're just, we think that they're going to this environment that's beneficial for them. And I don't know that that is the case so much anymore. And I feel like parents need to get more involved and be more vigilant in looking at what is going on in their schools, because our children need to be protected. I can say that as a parent leading up to COVID, I thought that I was sending my kids to school and they were learning an education and doing all the stuff that my older kids did and myself did when I went to school. And after they came home in COVID, and I started seeing some of the things that was being taught, and just realizing things weren't the way that I thought they were. And I feel guilty as a parent because I feel like I was negligent to that point, but having knowledge now, I have to use that knowledge to either educate other parents that want the education to understand what's going on in the schools so that we can protect our kids.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I mean, obviously, we're having a real massive parent awakening where we're like, wow, we're not, this is, wow, what the heck's been going on? And I know that parents on the right and the left, because I talk to them all here at Ed First Alliance, there is a longing for getting back to normal. I mean, even the hardcore leftists who, you know, have sent communications to me say, hey, I kind of think you're doing the right thing in terms of bringing this back. Because look, Barbie said something important. You know, yeah, we know critical race theory will, you know, put people and balkanize children based on their religion, sexual preferences, etc. That's a problem. But more than anything, Barbie, and those of you out there listening, I think that there's a lot of policies now that the school they're putting out there where it's creating a lot of mistrust between the parents and the teachers, and a lot of unnecessary, you know, suspicion, and by these policies inducing suspicion. For instance, Charlotte Mecklenburg school systems coming out and saying, and they're not the only ones, by the way, saying, oh yeah, we're not going to tell parents if the children's have a legitimate mental disorder, and that's gender dysphoria. You know, and now parents are understandably up in arms. So I think the policies, you know, we're not going to talk about what happened tonight, but I think going forward, we need to really talk about what would the policies be that would break down the lack of trust between the parents and the teachers and the staff.
So you were asking me
Well,
what the policy.
I think that, you think I'm onto something? I mean, do you think there's some policies, some actual policies that are creating more harm than good from a perspective of driving a lot of mistrust and maybe even aggression?
Oh, I do believe that. I mean, I know that there's been incidences that where I wanted to talk to or just get information, and it's been made very difficult to get.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me untrusting to the communication that I feel like I have with them sometimes.
Well, getting back to your community, I mean, how do you, what are they made of? You know, tell us about some parents you've been talking to. You've been on the campaign trail for an awfully long time.
Right. I think that parents just want to be heard. The first thing a lot of them feel like they can't speak because of retaliation. Because a lot of times when I sit down and have conversations with a parent, they say, well, I could have brought 3 or 4 other people, but they didn't. They're afraid to come forward because they don't know what's going to happen to their child when they get into school.
Let's put a pin in that, because that, Angie, that's one of the things that can keep us unsafe in school. If a lot of parents are saying, hey, you know, I knew that Sally was a problem, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want retaliation. Sally goes in and stabs Freddie. That's a problem, right? I mean, we want to have a communication channel going on where we can, you know what I mean? I mean, we can actually see something, say something. So what you just said, it's very important in terms of safety.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's probably the biggest thing is as parents just really want to have an avenue that somebody they can talk to and they know they're listening and that they're going to take their concerns serious when it comes to their child and what their education is. We all want our kids to have a great education and be in a safe environment to obtain that. And I know that there's avenues that we have to go to get to that, but I feel like we just need to let parents know that we care and we're going to do what we can.
Especially now.
Yes.
So
to alleviate that concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're heading into a holiday weekend. So I know that kids are going to get Monday off. You said a lot are going to get tomorrow off as well. And so kind of, you know, going forward, is there another law enforcement update that we can expect tomorrow? I mean, what's going to happen to this ongoing as it unfolds? Do you know?
I haven't heard. I know they did an update this morning. Past that, I have not been able to. I've been looking for the last hour to see if I can find any updates, and I haven't seen anything yet. I just know that it's an ongoing investigation.
Okay. And so I mean, you guys are going to obviously get through this. What's the best way that you think as a leader in your community that that's going to happen?
I think as a community, we all need to sit down and communicate and put a plan together and figure out where our gaps are and how we can alleviate this, and work together to get it done. The finger pointing isn't going to matter because a child's dead. Another one's hurt. And so we can sit around all day saying it was so-and-so's fault. But ultimately, we need to sit down and put a plan together and figure out how to fix it.
And figure out if there were gaps and if something slipped through the crack. Because, you know, I know a lot of parents always or non-parents say, wow, okay, schools really aren't safe. You may be right. But, you know, let's wait to find out. In other words, you know, a lot of times from what I'm reading, everything went right and this still happens. That does happen. And so we need to, I know it's hard, but reserve judgment until we find out what happens. And then look, there'll be plenty of time for that. The damage is already done. It's not going to help anything. Again, guys, we've got, you know, Friday, the weekend, and Monday. So before then, I'm sure they'll figure out any gaps and hopefully plug the holes if there are any. So thank you. I know it's been terribly upsetting day for everybody in your neck of the woods. That's Jacksonville. What are the other cities in Onslow?
We have other cities. We have Jacksonville. Jacksonville's our biggest city. Then we have Richlands, Sneads Ferry, Holly Ridge, Swansboro. Those are probably the biggest ones that we have in the county.
All right.
I do want to say prayers out to the families that were involved. I can only imagine this was not the way they thought the day was going to end. But I will keep them in their prayers, and I hope that we can get past this as a community.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely. Thank you again for coming on, and guys, we will keep you posted. All right, Angie, thank you. I'm glad you came to talk to us, and have a great rest of your evening. And everybody out there, have a great holiday weekend, and definitely stay safe and hug your kids like an extra 5 or 6 times tonight before they go to bed.
Thank you, Sloan. Have a good night.
Thank you.